And we are live really late.
Really late.
I fully forgot about Bookcraft tonight to the degree that I have not even read the chapters.
Oh,
I remembered Bookcraft tonight because I opened my email and it said Lisa has joined your Zoom room, and I was like, "Oh my gosh!"
I could notify you.
I Here's the thing. I never forget about Bookcraft. Like, I always know which Tuesday it is.
Right?
But even so, Lisa always sends a message saying, "We're doing it this week, right?" And didn't send that message this week, which usually would be perfectly fine because I don't forget about it anyway, except and I didn't forget that it was this week. I was thinking about it yesterday, but just like today, all day today, I keep thinking it's Wednesday. So the idea of it possibly being a Bookcraft Tuesday wasn't even on my radar.
I've been on the road all day. I haven't had time to send a message.
Which is fine. It's not like I typically rely on you to do that. I'm happy to give reassurances of when it is and whatever, but I know when it is. I don't need the reminder except for today, apparently. I don't even know where my boots are. Give
Have
me
you
just a
guys?
second. I'm gonna go get my crochet project.
I'm
Oh.
currently looking up a project to work on. So
You two talk about what
I'm
you're doing in the meantime.
still working on this. It's my shawl that's supposed to be my winter shawl for work. Still working on it.
That's nice.
Nice, yeah, it's March. Still working on it. What kind of project are you looking for?
Um, I've been trying to do bracelets because I've been trying to find a new bracelet idea. Um, I have
Nice.
an awful lot of earrings, so I'm just going through my list and trying to find one that I think is quick and easy to learn without sound.
Good luck.
I think I like this one. Just got to grab the leads, undetermined colors and stuff like that.
Oh, where have all my F hooks gone? Including the one that I was actively using on this.
Hmm,
Brr. I haven't had time to turn on the heat in my room and it's cold.
that's never nice.
Not nice. I was
So
supposed to be home by like 4:30, 5 o'clock, and I literally came in the door at like 6:52. So,
where were you, if you can, say live online?
um,
Spent the
well,
day with your boyfriend.
yeah, I spent the day with the boyfriend. He had to get his car detailed and undercoated. So they originally told him it was only going to take till like 3 o'clock. And then when he went to drop it off at 8:30 this morning, they told him it wouldn't be ready until 5. So, and I was his ride, so he wasn't stuck at the dealership all day. Problem is, the dealership was all the way in Topsom, which is like an hour and a half away.
Yeah.
So,
Um, yeah, I've been having one of those days of I have so much to do and I'm struggling to decide which way to prioritize what to do.
mm.
So my last, excuse me, last of my soap supplies arrived.
Oh,
So I need to
good.
start making soap, but I have to
Woo.
finish organizing my workshop before I can make soap. But my back has been killing me. Like, I swear it's actively trying to murder me. So,
Actively.
so I've gotten a little bit done on that, but I also had to get grocery shopping done. I also have Oh, perpetual things as always.
Yep.
Oh, hold on. I just went. Oh, I need to go find where that um which thing that opened up on the YouTube live opened up on so that it wouldn't be I could mute it so it wouldn't be feeding back through my speakers. And as I went to find it, it started talking in my ears.
Well, I guess
Fun.
we're done. So I did read the book, the 2 chapters.
Same.
Uh-huh.
Well, I listened to it on my way home, if that
She's gonna
counts.
talk to me, and then she's like, "Yeah, so I only have an hour and a half to get home. It's gonna take me almost that whole time. I haven't read the book yet." I was like, "Then what are you talking to me for?"
Um, let me see. I have Gutenberg Press open somewhere. So I can at least, glance at stuff. Ah, there it is.
It was definitely a couple of long chapters.
Yeah. I see that we're continuing to stay in Nat's point of view.
We are tending to stay in Nat's point of view. Um, I don't know if that's going to change at some point, but yeah. Um, so basically,
I don't remember. I don't
You don't
remember if
remember
it does.
one?
I don't remember if it changes.
Oh, I was gonna ask, did you read this one?
No, I mean, I have read it before,
A
so
long time ago.
like a decade and a half ago I read this.
Um, okay, so chapter 3 is called Sundays or Sunday, and it was basically just a walkthrough of what the kids do on Sunday. So, Nat awoke to find a new to him costume, outfit,
Best suit.
Costume.
Sunday
I like
costume,
suit.
costume.
Sunday best. Um, and then they went down to breakfast, which was much more fancier than their normal breakfast because it was coffee and steak and eggs
And potatoes.
and, and potatoes. Um,
I mean, I don't like coffee, but like, man, that's breakfast.
um, and Nat, because he still had the cough, chose not to go to church. Um, I'm not sure what he did while all the other kids did their Sunday chores before church. Like it
I think
didn't
he was
say if
helping
he
out.
I don't know if he found a chore or just watched the other kids do their chores or asked Joe for a chore. It didn't really specify. Uh, so he stayed home with the younger ones and Joe and basically sang hymns and songs and found out about his weekly, I'm going to call it the weekly report book because or she called it her conscience book, I think, but
Yeah.
basically she has a book with everybody's name in it and she reports to them, each one confidentially, how they've done for the week.
And it only stays between her and them.
That's right.
That's
Doesn't get
good.
read by other students. It's confidential.
That's good.
Um, and he was so excited to see his name in there, and he didn't want to disappoint her because he didn't want to see her disappointed. Um,
Okay, so just because I have nothing to contribute about the rest of this right now, I just have to say this episode of Critical Role that I was watching. And I'm into campaign 3 now.
oh
So
wow, nice.
anybody watches this who knows Critical Role, I finished campaigns 1 and 2. I'm into campaign 3 now. But one of the characters had made a decision on his own that he was like, I'm sorry, I probably should have asked you guys. And everybody else was going like, no, yeah, it's fine. And this one character who's particularly brusque about things and kind of has deliberately cultivated that sort of a persona goes to him, he goes, I'm not disappointed, I'm just angry.
I like how that's opposite of what it usually is. I'm
Yeah,
not
I
angry,
know.
I'm just disappointed.
It's it's all I could think when you were saying he doesn't want to disappoint her. That oh, I'm not angry, I'm just disappointed, and then I'm picturing him being like, I'm not disappointed, I'm just angry. Anyway, continue.
Um, and then he didn't go to evening hymns either because again, his he was he no the walk to grandma's, I think,
I think it was just a
because
walk. It was just a walk.
yeah, because he was tired. He didn't or
He
couldn't
was
walk
so
that.
weak from being sick.
Yeah. Um and so Tommy showed him around, showed him the menagerie, the little pet
Introduced him
area. The
to
one problem I had was with Tommy's logic. It was like, for every 12 eggs, I will give you one. For every dozen eggs you collect, she will give you 25 cents. And that way you can earn money. And I'm like, how long will it take him to collect 12 eggs? Because eggs do go bad.
Yeah,
Well,
but
he
they're
said that's
collecting
why he
them.
had the count on the board. He had a
Yeah,
board for a count.
yeah. I don't think he has to hold them all at once and turn them in once he has.
Okay,
The
because
dozen.
I'm like, if he like, you know,
Yeah,
if
yeah.
he waits to turn them in,
That would turn into a whole like um Charlotte's Web Templeton situation with the rotten egg.
yeah. So I'm just like, I don't see how that would work, but okay. But if he didn't have to like hold them all for the until he had all 12, that's fine.
But also, I mean, they have a fair amount of chickens, don't they? Like my my
Yeah,
grandmother, when my grandmother had a chicken coop, we would usually get 8 to 10 eggs a day.
Yeah,
And
but as far as I understand,
that
he's
was
only
just
got
for
the
her
two chickens.
household.
He's got
yeah,
two
but I thought
chickens.
he only had two
Oh,
hens.
he only has 2. Okay. Like I
Yeah,
said, I didn't read the chapter. I'm asking. I'm not trying to correct you. I'm asking
He only has two.
he
because
only
I
has
don't know.
two hens.
Okay. That's why I said
Okay,
but how
well,
many chickens do they have? Because yeah, I don't know.
I don't know either.
Eh,
But yeah, so and then he's going then the chapter then it's story singing and story time, and Mr. Bear tells a moral story
about the
um
garden plots.
about the garden plots, which turns out to be a metaphor for the children and asks them what they'd like to grow in this year. What can he harvest and cultivate from them this year? Which I thought was pretty cute.
that's such a Mr. Bear question.
Um, and then Demi is Nat is going to bed, and he is looking at this picture of Jesus Christ blessing the children. That it's a picture that belongs to Demi that he left in the sick room, the first aid room, that room that Nat is currently sleeping in.
Yep.
Um,
Isolation.
Affirmation. And he asked Demi about it, and because Demi was like, "That's my picture," and he tells him about it, and then I guess he spends quite a long while talking about Jesus Christ and the good man and all about him, and Mrs. Bear Joe was gonna talk to him before the night, but what do they call her? The nursery lady?
Nursey.
Nursey.
Nursey, yeah, but Nursey's like, you must come see this. Um, and she listened to Demi preaching to this little boy and then decided that that was more than she could do and let them go on for hours, basically. And eventually came back to Demi gone, Nat asleep, and went to blow out the candle. And that was the entire first chapter, chapter 3, which is quite a lot, actually. That was a lot in that chapter.
It was a lot that doesn't take that long to recap.
I skipped a lot of details,
I mean, that's what I mean, though. Like, it was a lot written. It wasn't maybe necessary to have all the details.
yeah.
I do remember that about this book as we're getting into it. I don't think I realized, because I wasn't reading it by, specific set amount of chapters at a time. I don't think I realized how much longer the chapters are compared to Little Women. But
Yeah.
I do remember that I had a lot of like, why are we learning all of these random little details about this? I don't understand the purpose of this. But there's a lot that's really cute in it.
I do
Yeah.
appreciate the lesser vocabulary. Okay. I don't feel like I need a thesaurus yet.
I don't know. Well, you might need one with Demi. Jeez.
Demi is one.
Demi is a thesaurus. Yeah. At least they explained his big words.
Yeah, like Arigory instead of allegory.
Allegory.
Arigory.
Yeah.
You pronounced it wrong.
I love Demi. He's probably my favorite of the boys.
And he's only 10.
I think Tommy's an interesting character, and I like Nat. Demi is definitely a very serious, very smart boy.
He wants to be just like his grandpa and know everything.
Yeah. I'm assuming that's Grandpa March.
Yeah. I don't even know. What were you gonna say?
If they know John's parents.
That's what I was gonna say too.
Oh wait, those are Lori's kids, right?
No, John's and Meg's kids.
Yeah.
Oh, Mr. Brooks' kid. Yeah, Mr. Brooks.
Yeah, I think, did Amy and Lori have kids, or did they?
They had a daughter.
That's right. They ended up having a daughter.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right, and she was like kind of sickly, right?
I think so. Yeah.
Not like sickly, but like weaker, frailer.
Yes, yes. It's funny because in the next chapter they say that Daisy reminds them of Beth, which is why I got confused.
Only because of her temperament and her quietness, not because of her frailness.
Yeah. Yeah. So that was a lot in the chapter. I definitely think Tommy likes leading around Nat. I think he likes showing him the ropes and being the big boy in charge who knows what's going on.
He's also quite the troublemaker himself. So
he really is.
Yeah.
So then we got to move on to chapter 4 here.
Do we though? Do we got it?
I don't know. I think we have a little bit of a pause time because that chapter 3 was longer than chapter 4, and I recapped that pretty quickly. Yeah, remember we started 10 minutes late.
I didn't tell you guys what I'm working on right now.
Go ahead. What are you working on?
So I'm trying to get and Lisa knows this, but I'm trying to get a few patterns ready I was hoping to have them ready to put on the website when we list other things, but it might be a little bit later, but to have some crochet patterns available because I can't crochet fast enough for it to be feasible for me to sell with the volume of things that I plan on doing with Pixie Elegance. Not to be able to do it and make any real money with it. But I have some crochet patterns that I've worked out over the years. So I'm going through and testing them and working on how I have them written down and getting them better for other people to read. And then I have some lovely beta testers like Lisa, helping
I
me.
was gonna work on that tonight, but I didn't have time to put it together before.
That's okay. But yeah, I have a few friends helping to test them because I want more than one perspective because everybody reads patterns a little bit differently, you know. So this one I have to finish going through before I'm able to even send it to a beta tester yet. Because I have to alter a couple things with it. There were a couple things when I first made it that I wasn't 100% happy with, so I'm playing with it and figuring some different things out. And I also originally did it in fingering weight yarn, so I'm doing it a new one in fingering weight yarn and also in worsted weight yarn to see the difference of size to be able to, because it's amigurumi. It's just going to come out at a different height. It's not like it has to fit anything. But
Yeah,
it
but
is
if you have a basic size based on, the yarn and the hook
right.
size.
And like with the fingering weight yarn, I did a size C hook. And usually when I do amigurumi, I do it with a size F hook for worsted weight yarn. So I'm doing it in both ways. So you can't really tell very well right now because this is just the hat, but it's a gnome. It's gonna this part is the part that the whole big nose goes into,
Mhm.
and then the body, but
Oh, that's not actually a gnome. I
it's a
found out
tomte.
it's a what?
Tomte or Nisa.
Yeah, I was like, I can't remember what it's called, but it's not actually a
I
gnome.
people call them gnomes, and they're essentially
A cousin of gnomes.
Scandinavian gnomes. But um they are I believe if I remember, I think it's the Norwegian name is Tomte or Tomte or Tomte. It's Tomte. And then the other name is Nisse, which is Nisse. One of them is Norwegian and one of them is I want to say Swedish, but I could be wrong about that. But they have different names throughout the Scandinavian countries, but are pretty much the same. So, and people have started, merging all the sundry fae folk. Um, I saw several St. Patrick's pictures this year that were leprechauns that were in the style of Tomte. Um, so they're the way little folk. Um, but at any rate, um, I liked how my first one came out, which actually was one that my aunt had requested that I do for my cousin and had ordered from me 4 years ago, probably 3 years ago, something like that. And so I liked how it came out, but we had different opinions on how big the nose should be, which I was happy to change for her, but I I wasn't fully happy with how big it was originally. And then but I wasn't fully happy with it the way that I changed it for her either. And she was happy with it, and that's what mattered as far as that went. But for having a pattern that I work out for everybody, I need to figure out the right. And then I just had the body go like straight down, and I kind of want to shape the body a little bit more. So I'm gonna be playing with that a little bit too. Anywho, so that's what I'm working on.
Very nice. Oh,
Like I said while you were going away, I was searching my um beaded tutorials on. I have a YouTube playlist of beaded tutorials I was looking for a bracelet design. So that's what I'm working on. Just I'm watching the video while we're chatting.
You know,
Just multitasking.
as long as you don't have to be able to hear it,
Yeah, half of them aren't even in English, so
right? As long as you don't need to be able to understand it.
as long as I can
I love
hear
that. I
it,
love
I'm good.
I love that that's the case though. I love that we, you know, seeing somebody demonstrate something like crafty or artistic transcends languages.
It
So
does.
I actually did something like that. There's this beautiful fall leaf shawl that I make. Um that is probably one of the most complex shawls that I make. Probably not as complex as the Lost Souls, but still. The only YouTube video I could find to learn this shawl was in Russian. So I had to watch it step by step as I did it. And then I eventually made a YouTube tutorial of it in English. Um, and it is on YouTube still. Uh,
Nice.
but yeah, I made it's over an hour long. But it's I talk really slow in it. I could have, it was my first tutorial really. But I was pretty proud of myself to translate, a pattern from a Russian to what I was doing and what I was doing into its own tutorial.
Very
So,
cool. Yeah. Yeah, I've had a few that like patterns that I found that were written in um oh, there's one in French. I know there's one I was following at one point in Russian, several in Spanish, which at least I know some Spanish. Um, but like if it's not something that I can put through Google Translate, if it's like a an image, then just being able to like figure out, okay, I've literally sat there like Googling like what is how is single crochet abbreviated in this language? How is double crochet abbreviated in this language? And then like the numerals look the same, you know, and
right.
just figured it out. Or like the the details around a chart are in a different language, but I can kind of follow the chart and figure it out. And I love that. I love you know, I've said a few different times, like I feel like the way that people used to have more of an idea of how the products that we use are made, um, even if they didn't know how to make it per se, but they knew that lye goes into soap. They knew that like the things that the blacksmith was doing because they could see him working in the village when they went into the village to get their necessities to place an order from the blacksmith to go get candles, and they could see the candle maker dipping candles, and even if they couldn't have necessarily done it themselves, but they had some connection to it, some idea of how these things happened. And then like we had the Industrial Revolution, and like a lot of bad things happened with that, but a lot of progress happened with it also. And um but it led to a lot more disconnect with that. But we're at this point where we can be more connected again, and like the whole world is this village where you just have to go to YouTube and see how the blacksmith makes their thing, or how the soap maker makes their thing, and you don't necessarily have to know all of it, but just being able to see all of it. And that's one of the things that has always been important to me to help reconnect people with Pixie Elegance. And I think that this ability to look at stuff from other crafters and sort of transcend the language barrier, with the understanding of craftsmanship, um, is really good and really important, and has a lot of potential in just helping people understand each other sometimes. So
It's
I think it's really cool.
another thing that's similar to that is internships. Like that's how people used to learn. They would go almost like being an apprentice and internship,
Mhm.
you'd watch and you'd learn. And now everybody's like, well, if I don't get paid, I don't want to learn how to do it. Like most internships, you didn't get paid back.
Well, and it's a toss up a little bit because like on the one hand, you know, that's that's how you learn, but on the other hand, um there are a lot of employers who are like, well, now this is a way that I can, take advantage of somebody and get my work
Get free
done for free
labor.
instead.
Yeah,
And
nowadays most interns just go get coffee or lunch orders or,
yeah,
they're not really learning anything.
and that's not helpful either. And
Well,
but that's also something that I want to do with Pixie Elegance is have some once I'm able to, once things are big enough, I want to be able to have some apprenticeships and have people be able to learn alongside you. But apprentices like way back in the day, they weren't paid per se, but like they got room and board. They were fed, they had a place to sleep, and that's not how most internships work either. So um I wanna try to it's going to be a long time before I'm ready to be doing that, but it'll take a lot of hashing out what the modern day equivalent is because I don't think that I'm going to be able to offer apprenticeships in which I put people up with room and board. I don't know. Maybe I will. I have big dreams and plans and a whole complex I'd love to build one day. I have land I want to buy for that if it doesn't sell between now and 20 years from now when I'm finally able to buy some.
Right.
right.
Lisa, you were starting to say something somewhere in there.
Well, basically about the room and board thing, I was like, but now also nowadays, people can't really afford to be an unpaid intern because the cost of living is so expensive, so high. Um, a lot of people don't have the ability to rely on family for lodging and food while doing said
Right.
internship.
Right. Well,
So,
it's the same
yeah.
as how, painters used to have like a patron who would just pay them to be the painter sort of at their beck and call and pay for them to be just painting all the time or sculpting or whatever. There were um actors with patrons like they their job was to put on plays for the patron and the other people under them. I'm not saying like, oh, let's go back to a feudal system or something. But there are things that when those things were lost, like there's it's hard to be an artist when you can't have that. And that's the concept behind Patreon. We don't have people who will be the patrons, so let's have a bunch of people together
Helping each
collectively be
other
the
out.
patron.
Yeah.
But it all um, you know, times change and sometimes I think we people get too caught in you have to change with them or be left behind and forget that maybe there's another option where instead of changing with them or being left behind, you can like change with the times, but find the things from the past that were good and find a way to help them change with the times too and retain the good parts.
A happy medium compromise.
Yeah. I mean, that's more or less my life's definition. That's always been me. I don't think things go to this extreme or that extreme. Isn't there something in between? So, chapter 4.
So, chapter 4, do you want to take this one or you want me to take it again, Karen?
I'll take it. So chapter 4, we go to see them not learning more in his more day-to-day life. I kind of mostly skimmed this chapter because it's already
Oh,
5 minutes
now
into
let me tell it because I don't mind. I just want to give you a shot if you wanted one.
Oh, you can take it. No problem.
Okay,
I'm
so
not just
chapter
saying that
4.
because I count.
Chapter 4, we get into Nat and his weekly routine with learning. Um, he was really worried about being embarrassed in front of the boys, but Mr. Bear stuck him in a corner where he could be by himself, but he was getting frustrated because he could hear the other boys doing so well. And Mr. Bear talked to him like, you know what? You'll get it because there are things you can do that these boys cannot. And
Fiddle.
like the fiddle. And then he was telling him that his desire to learn was half the battle. Um, and all the boys, like Demi was just, he was worried about kids laughing at him for being not as smart. And Demi overheard and was like, if any of them laugh at you, I'll knock them to the ground. So Demi just like stood right
With
up.
his book.
Right. And Mr. Bear chose to take that moment instead of to have them focus on the math lesson to focus on a friendship lesson, on a learning lesson, which was nice. Basically he just gets into a routine where he learns to read, he likes reading. He gets a really great friendship with the guys. Eventually he plays his music in the park for picnics and gets paid to do so. Like the other boys, they have things they get paid to do, and Mr. Bear fully encourages because they need to be able to make their own money when they grow up. Well, when they're adults. Um, and but apparently, Nat has a nasty habit of fibbing.
Yes.
So he tries to do good. He doesn't like to, disappoint the bears, but he does have a tendency to tell some white lies.
Or
So
gray. The book describes them as gray.
gray lies. And not mean or harmful lies, just defensive lies, probably more than anything. And so Mr. Bear sits him down and says that, he needs to work on this lying thing. And he's like, I just forget. And so Mr. Bear tells him the story about how he used to be a fibber by quite a bit. And his parents got so frustrated because they didn't know what to do, because they tried teaching, they tried patience, they tried scolding and punishment. And no matter what, Mr. Bear still ended up lying because he'd forget, he'd slip. So his grandmother told him she had a way to stop him from lying. And what she did was she took his tongue and she snipped it with the scissors hard enough to make it bleed. Which that seems very extreme to me.
I cringed at that part.
I did. I'm like, oh, that's so so that not enough to cut it off, but enough to make it bleed and sore for a few days, so that Mr. Bear had to think about everything he said because it hurt to talk at first, and every word took effort. So this is how he kicked his curb, and Nat was like, "Oh, I will gladly let you cut my tongue," and he's like, "No, I don't think that's the way this is gonna work." He goes, "Tell you what, if you lie, you have to punish me."
Because I've tried this method once before and it worked.
And it worked. He says, if you lie, you have to punish me. You have to slap me with the ruler.
Yep.
Which is a punishment that was a big. This is the punishment that was a big issue with Amy back in the first book.
Yep.
Anyway, so he does really good for a while. He doesn't lie. And then he lies about trampling the corn stalks.
He was running from one of the other boys.
It was found out a couple days later that it was him who trampled the corn, even though he said he didn't.
Tommy saw and told.
Tommy saw and told. And so Mr. Bear took him into the schoolhouse away from all the other boys so that he wouldn't be like in front, like it wouldn't be a public affair. It was a private affair. But of course, Tommy was looking through the window. but he pulled down the ruler that was barely used, covered in dust,
Of course.
and he told Nat to slap him on the hand 6 times. Nat didn't want to do it.
Tommy was surprised because at first he thought, "Oh no, maybe I shouldn't have told. He's gonna whack him."
Yeah, Tommy at first thought that Bear was gonna slap Nat's hands. He's like, "Oh no,
This never happens. What is going on?
maybe I shouldn't have said anything." No. And he slapped his hands twice and was crying, and he didn't want to do any more. And Mr. Bear's like, "Nope,
Keep
4
going.
more, keep going, and harder, keep going and harder," because he hadn't slapped hard.
There's a
So he did.
shocker.
So he covered his eyes and waxed twice more, and he didn't want to do any more. And he begged and he pleaded, and Mr. Bear's words were 2 more. So he whacked Mr. Bear 6 times, and then he threw the ruler across the room and hugged Mr. Bear's hands. I can just see this little boy like sobbing into this big hand of a grown man, just like so apologetic, so remorseful. And he's like, "I'm never gonna lie again." And Mr. Bear was like, "I believe you," because he knew that the love he had for Mr. Bear was stronger than the fear of punishment. So that's why he did it that way, which I thought was really cool.
We also
Um,
found out that the previous person was Emil, his own nephew.
Yeah. Yeah, because he admitted, he's like, I had to do that once too. And everyone was like rounding on him, like, "How dare you hit Mr. Bear?"
Like at first
He
I thought
made
you found a good way
me.
to pay him back. And then after the first hit, all I could do was think about all the stuff he'd done for me, and it just hurt me to hurt him.
hmm So, and they all agreed not to mention it to him, to Nat, because Tommy went and told all the boys. Nat hid in his room most of the day, and then he started playing his violin, and all the boys knew that he was going to be okay. And then he went to go for a quiet walk by himself, and of course, who was outside his door besides lovely little Daisy, who always snuck up behind him when he was playing the violin to listen to him play. And she was just sitting there patiently, not with a doll or a crochet project, but with a simple handkerchief for his sorrows. And he asked her if she wanted to go for a walk with him. And she was so happy by the honor, she ran to get her hat. And it was all that Joe could do to be like, not ruin the moment, because it reminded her so much of Beth.
And then Lisa cried.
And then they
It was
cried.
sweet. And I think that was the end of the chapter, I believe.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
So yeah, a lot of emotion in the second chapter,
Mm-hmm.
where there was a lot of detail in the first chapter we read.
That's kind of what the first two were, except in reverse. It was a lot of emotion and seeing this little boy getting to have the stuff he never had, and then a lot of just describing everybody after that.
Right.
There it is.
It was definitely an interesting read this week.
Yeah, it sounds it.
I really enjoyed it. I do notice that the writing style for Little Men is different than Little Women.
Yeah. I wonder if that was like her trying something different, or if it was a publisher requesting something different.
Or a different
Or
publisher altogether.
yeah. Different editor. requesting different kinds of changes than she would have made otherwise.
Could have been her growth as a writer. She could have changed her own style.
Yeah,
Um,
but that possibility occurred to me, but then I was like, well, would we have seen that throughout Little Women since it was published in sections? But at the same time, maybe not. Maybe she deliberately was like, well, I need this to all stay consistent, even if I would write it differently now.
Also, how much time was between publishing of Little Women in the newspaper to publishing Little Men?
You know what? Let me look that up. I'm curious.
And then maybe the fact that she wrote Little Women and then she had gained such prestigeness, it might be the right word. I'm trying to find, I don't know if it, that she was able to write the way she wanted rather than what people wanted of her.
That's a good point too.
Like she had gained enough of a following that it didn't matter that she was a woman writing. She could write what she wanted to write more than what people wanted her to write.
I'm waiting for her to figure it out. She's looking it up.
Yeah, I'm just waiting for her to look. So
Well, I was trying to.
I'm being brought something. Hello. Hi.
It's a
She's
little
so
puppy dog.
she's so lazy and
This is Bailey. You can't see her very well, but it's my puppy Bailey.
I can see the baby. Oh, the pretty, pretty girl.
Pepper.
by the way, I'm jealous of your guys' campaign. I'm leaving.
Yeah,
I
he's
told him
heard all
about
about
it
it.
since Friday, so he's very jealous.
Oh, my boys and I are gonna keep playing. So anybody, and I can't find the answer right now in a quick search. I'll try to find before next time. The for anybody watching, our D&D campaign we do, we were starting a new one this past Friday, but we have a new friend who'll be joining us, who wasn't able to come this past Friday. So my children, my almost 12-year-old, he'll be 12 before our next book craft session.
I knew his birthday was coming up.
Yep.
It's on Good
Right
Friday
around the
this year,
corner.
or Good Friday's on it this year.
It falls on Good
So-
Friday.
Good Friday and my older son's birthday fall on the same Friday of this year. So my almost 12-year-old and my 9-year-old joined us, and we did sort of a one shot, but in the world of the campaign that we're starting, where Lisa and Karen's characters got to meet each other, and my children were also there, and they want to join every other session, and I was like, that feels like maybe a little more frequent than we'll be doing.
It'd be hard to keep the
But-
story plot the same with them constantly jumping in and out.
Yes, it would be. But I told them I'll do sessions with them separately. And so they'll probably every once in a while join.
It was
And
so much fun playing with them. It was.
so I had deliberately, and I can tell you guys this, I haven't told them this, but I had so the session that we did, the random little
Mission.
skirmish that I gave them involved some different creatures that are typically only in dark areas. So to make that happen, I made an area of the city just randomly dark and nobody knows why. And I was just gonna have that weirdly disappear when the dark creatures vanished and nobody really knew why somehow they brought the darkness with them. But my children want to keep playing, and I'm going to essentially be running 2 campaigns in this world. So I made it a mystery, and I still have not figured out what that's going to be. No
Kind of
idea.
a bad spell.
I have no idea why this area is mysteriously dark, but they're going to be exploring it for a while. Um, this has nothing to do with the campaign that you guys are going to actually be playing. It was just something happening in this one city in this world. Um, I have so much worked out for this world, like so much. And oh, I said in our last session that I would show that map this session, and it's still out there. Hang on a second.
Yeah.
What I did like was that it was a great introduction to me and Karen's characters because we decided our characters wouldn't know each other beforehand. And it was just such a great way for our characters to meet and bond, and it was so natural that it just flowed so easy.
Yeah. It was really interesting. But just real quick, the reason why my husband is jealous is because we disbanded our other group that meets on the weeks that this group does not, because everyone just stopped playing. So we had to disband our group.
You'll get a new group. Just give it time.
Sorry, I didn't mean to punch my microphone. I have no idea
Yeah,
how
you're
loud
fine.
that was through the thing.
I didn't
You're
hear
all-
anything.
So, the map created by Inkheart. Inkheart? Incarnate. That's what it's called. I was like, Inkheart is
I was gonna
is
say
a
we
book.
created it,
Hold
but
on.
I need to create a map. So I was like, what did you
Incarnate.
create?
Incarnate. Inkarnate. Incarnate. And yeah, I love it for creating maps. Do I have this right side up or upside down? I actually opened it right side up.
Yay!
But I keep going like, oh, they're not going to be able to hear me if I'm back here. Like my microphone's back here with me. Of course you'll be able to. Um, but I've been working on this map and of what I call the barter nations, which are nations that all work in trade together. And then down here you have the barter sea. And then there are a couple more nations on the other side of the mountains up here that are a lot more separate. And then up here are the unknown lands. Ooh.
Oh.
And there may be another map involved there. And you have right here, you have the desert area. And then over here, past the desert area, you have Vigus, which is essentially all farmland, but it's even though in many ways a lot of people from the primary barter nations think of Vigus as sort of second class because they're all farmers, but at the same time, they can't actually treat them as second class citizens because they rely on them for food. And Vigus could survive, like they want the stuff they can trade for from the other nations, but they could survive without it. The other nations could not survive without their food. They would not have enough food for their nations if they weren't also supplementing with food from Vigus. They have too high populations to maintain the amount of farmland that would be needed. So they sort of have to treat Vigus better than they would otherwise be inclined to. Sort of like, you know, like in Hunger Games, if the people of the capital realized that they actually rely on the other people and don't want to, get them so angry that they stop doing anything for them ever. But in this case, the people of Vigus hold enough sway that they realize, oh, we can't actually treat them crappily because it will be a problem. And I have I have so much more that I know about this world and the and a lot more that I'm still figuring out, but like there's a lot to it and I'm super excited for you guys finding out.
All right, so to show my progress of the bracelet I've been working on.
Oh, very nice.
That's
I
how
love
far I've
it.
gotten. It's 2 colors, and this is one half of it. So the other color's gonna go on the other side, here. So
So between stopping to type stuff out and then like going to get stuff and searching stuff and everything. I didn't get very far on this. I got a few rounds done, but
yeah.
I did work on like pulling in here and then I'm gonna make it go out and kind of increase a little bit further down. So I'll see if I like how that went or if I need to change it more, but
I
working on
finished
figuring it out.
this shell row, which I had barely started, and I did the outline row, and I just got one shell done on the next row, and I need more string. This is where I'm at.
way to go, Lisa.
Thank you.
My last fragrance came today. The one
Yay!
fragrance that I got from Brambleberry, which I love Brambleberry, but we have to look at cost effectiveness also, and Nurture Soap and Brambleberry both have phthalate free fragrances, which is important to me. Partly because I'm less likely to be allergic to them if they're phthalate free. So these two, for anybody watching, both smelled my other 2 fragrances the other day. One of them is a blackberry vanilla that will be in my berry soap, and the other one is called Devious, and it will be in my pixie soap. And this is the cafe latte,
Ooh.
which will of course be in my coffee soap.
I wish I could smell it, but I can't.
I know.
I think it smells good, but I think it will smell better in the soap. Like it's so strong, but also there's like this really strong sort of syrup flavor scent that I think will I suspect from my experience with soap and with how fragrances behave in them, and from some of the descriptors, I suspect that will sort of mellow out a little and blend into something else. Plus, I'm going to because it's my Café con Leche soap, so it'll be a swirl of the coffee soap, which will be scented with this, and we'll have I'll probably scent both parts with this, but the coffee portion will have some coffee grounds in it for a scrub. And then the other portion will not be brown colored. It will just be I know words, I promise I know words. It will
Milky
just
white.
be left as its cream color, is what I was trying to say. And it will be a milk-based soap for the Café con Leche, which I don't use like cow's milk or goat's milk for that. It'll be a coconut milk base.
Oh, that's nice and nourishing.
Yep, good stuff. Good for the skin. Vegan friendly for those who care about that. And
I
and
just
then
realized
also
the person doing the video has a very beautiful beaded ring she's wearing.
I love when I get distracted. I'm just like, and then there's, ooh, what are you wearing?
It's freezed and her hands take up most of the screen. It's just got this beautiful beaded ring on it. I was like, oh, that's
Oh,
pretty.
I also have not gotten any more done. I showed you guys some of my stones that I've been showing last time. I've got them smooth and ready for the next polishing section, but I haven't gotten any more done. This is still my favorite.
Mm, I like that
Um,
one.
that one and this one, but the striations on this one don't show up well here. You see it a little bit, but I think it shows up better in picture I posted on the Pixie Elegance Facebook page if anybody is interested in going to look for that. But anyway, the belt broke on my rock tumbler, and 9-year-old and I had a conversation about why we don't lean on the rock tumbler and cause it to stop turning, and how this is a good example of how it's not good for it. And the rock tumbler came with 5 replacement belts 3 or 4 years ago when I first bought it. They're in this room somewhere.
Somewhere.
So
Somewhere is a good place.
I will be I'm working on finishing getting it organized, in part so that I have the space for making the soap, and in part so that I have some means of locating that. But once I have found that and get them going again, I previously only had I had a walnut shell grind, which is really good for like grinding them down fast if they've got a lot going on. But I now actually have the some small bottles. I'll get big bags at some point of the this stuff. Grinding stuff. What is it called? Oh my God. Grit. I'm like, if I look on the
Grit.
bottle, I bet it says grit. So I have steps 1, 2, 3, and 4 grit for actually polishing it properly once it's ground and smoothed. So I'm excited to work with those more too. But meanwhile, we have more than made up for starting late now. So
Chapters
Carol-
5 and 6.
Caroline, read chapters 5 and 6 and be on here in 2 weeks.
I thought I was gonna be late, like, so sorry. 7:02. I'm like sitting here waiting. Just waiting.
Yeah, I popped on and said, waiting for the host to start. And I was like, what? I was like, I'm not that late.
Oh, you were. Just so was I.
I even like X'd out and like came back in because I thought maybe I just misloaded or something.
Nope. Not me.
Okay.
All right. Everybody say bye.
Bye.
Bye.